Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Big Guys in Grover podcast, another conversation series, and it is time for the hot ride of the night. Brad Narducci joining us here on the podcast today, looking all, golly, you're looking like something.
Looking what?
You're looking thin.
I know. I'm
I mean,
jealous.
It must be the camera angle.
Yeah, it's a camera angle, and it's a lot of. I'm on a heavy dosage of anabolic steroids I got from Matt West. So
Well,
I've been.
I was going to call BS until you threw in your source.
Yeah. You know what?
I think what we should do is kick Grover off the podcast, and it could be the Three Big Guy podcast.
You know what?
Good idea.
It would at least be equaled out. I mean, like, we can go right down through here.
Yeah.
You could be right in the middle, I think.
I'm the
exactly.
pivot point.
Instead of just
He's the
because
fulcrum.
nobody wants a normal Oreo. They always want like a double stuffed Oreo.
That's right. That's
See?
right. Who the hell likes a normal one?
Yeah.
No
Nobody
kidding.
wants a regular Oreo.
So, music director, sometimes announcer extraordinaire, Brad Narducci.
No, I kind of like to delete that one from my skill set. I really don't like to announce. You've heard me. I'm terrible.
Well, we're going to go back
Did you start
to that.
Didn't you kind of start as an announcer?
Yeah, so day one, how I really got into business was at the time Matt Triplett's dad, Pat, was putting on some bull ridings up in a little town called West Glacier, which is right at the forefront, right of the gateway of Glacier National Park. So it was kind of a tourist attraction. I was hauling bulls for him. So he had these bucking bulls, and I would drop them off, bull riding, work the back pens, run the strip and shoots, things like that. And I get up there one evening, and he comes to me and he says, "Hey," he says, "we got a little problem." And I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Our announcer didn't show up." I said, "Oh, that sucks. Are we going to load the bulls
That
back
sucks.
up?" And, yeah, well, like, what are we going to do here? Do you want to load the show up and call it a day? He said, "No." He said, "We're starting in about 15 minutes." And I said, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" He said, "You're going to get up there and announce." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you're gonna go up there and announce." And I said, "All right, I'll try it. You know what I mean? I'll try it." And so I get up there, and this is before Brad has any clue about music or anything. They had a CD player that was hooked into the speakers, and I opened it up, and it was Jimmy Buffett's greatest hits. So I had one CD to work with, and he said, play something kind of pumped up before we start. So I played Cheeseburger in Paradise, two minutes out, and we get through the opening, and we get to the anthem, and we don't have an anthem singer, and there ain't no way in hell I was singing it. So we stood up and did the Pledge of Allegiance like you were in third grade, and got through it. And after we were done, he came up to me and he said, "I got to tell you something." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You are the worst announcer I've ever heard in my life." And I said, "Perfect." I said, "I don't want to do that again." So it's fine with me. And he told me, he said, "No," he said, "You come back next week and we'll try it again." So the next week I came back, tried it again, but this time I brought my iPod. So I had a little more music, and I was able to see what music can actually do with a crowd. So that's where it really kind of took off for me, that I figured out that I really want to be on the music side of things. As funny as this is going to sound, I had a youth pastor who's probably the Flathead Valley's best DJ that we have going. And we're at church. We're at church, and I asked him, I said, "Hey," I said, "is it possible that I could come, DJ with you on the scene?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Come on." And so here I am at this bar at like 19 years old. I might have been 20. I think I was 20. I'm at a bar DJing with my youth pastor, and we were throwing it down. And he taught me a lot about reading the crowd, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and that's really kind of where it took off from there. So that's how I got my start. I would say it was probably 2012 or 13, I want to say. I get a call on a Wednesday night, and it's for Richard Jones, and I barely know Richard at the time, other than all the questions I'd been asking him. He asked me, he says, "Can you go to Louisville on Saturday?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, absolutely." So 2 days notice. I bought my flight. It was like $780 for the flight. I think I had $803 in my checking account. So I didn't have any money. I borrowed a couple of $100 from my parents and flew to Louisville for my first PBR. Back then was what was it, Scott? A Blue Death
tour, yeah.
The Blue Death tour. And I'll never forget, it was the first time I'd met Matt West, and it was the first time I'd met Matt Merritt. And those guys were two of the biggest jerks to me that I had ever met in my life. They actually, yeah, exactly. They made me, and this is how I justify them being jerks. They made me open my laptop and show them every single song I was going to play for the perf. Every single song. They said, "We don't know you. We don't know what kind of skills you got. Open it up. Show us every song you got." Oh, okay. So I did, and I'd play a song, and they go, "No, that one's terrible. Don't play that." And I'd play a good one, like "You Shook Me All Night Long," and they would say, "No, that's terrible." They did that for 2 hours of them saying, "You have absolutely zero good music. We don't know what we're gonna do." And Matt West fakes a phone call to Richard, which at the time I thought was real. And he tells Richard, he said, I don't know where he got this kid, but he is absolutely terrible. I don't know what we're going to do. And I was so upset. Like I was crying, like I was sad. And we got to the building and I didn't know what I was going to do because these guys already hated me. But I'd already figured out that when I get home, I got a good job. I got a hot girlfriend. Like things are going to be okay for me. So I went out and I tried really hard. And luckily they came around and said, "Hey man, we was just kidding with you, but I still hate Matt West for doing that." Putting that kind of pressure on a young kid. It was
especially right before you go on.
Yeah. And I mean, kept up the joke the whole time. He's
terrible person.
I wish he was here right now. I'd punch him in the face. Yeah.
Terrible person. Well, not only being a great music director, you're almost a scratch golfer. You were probably the region's best service manager.
Yeah.
Before
yes,
you had to give up that job though.
I did.
To finally full time it over on the music director side. But yeah, you guys might not know, but Brad was a service manager at a car dealership there in Montana, and was probably actually you were probably going to go on to be the greatest of all time.
I mean, I was approaching the big leagues of the greatest of all time, no doubt about it. It got to the point though. I had a pretty cushy job. I was making probably, I don't know, 80 to 90,000 a year at the dealership, really not doing anything. But it got to the point where I had to make a decision. Which one did I like doing better? Did I like dealing with pissed off people that were screaming at me all the time, or did I like jumping on airplanes and going to stadiums? So it was kind of a no-brainer. I just had to wait till the time was right. And let me tell you, I do not miss one single person from that dealership. As nice as everybody was, as good as the coffee was, I ain't going back. Even to go get my oil changed, I hate going in there.
Even as much as you hate Matt West on the other side, it was still worth it. You tolerate Matt.
Oh yeah, I'd rather deal with Matt than anybody from that place. I promise you. Yeah.
Well, add to the list. A lot of people may not know that, scratch golfer, greatest of all time, service manager. He can do the old cornhole.
Oh, he's
toss.
A cornhole player.
Pretty fine cornhole player.
I think
too.
you were runner-up 2 years ago in the Matt West.
Yeah. What was I? We were runner-up, and it was probably my fault that we lost because all I had to do was get a point to tie us back. And my brother said, "Throw it on the board," and I thought he said, "Throw it over the board." So I thought he knew something that I didn't. So I chucked one deep, and he said, "What the hell are you doing? We're down by one." And I said, "I thought you said throw it over the board." He said, "No, I said just throw it on the board." So yeah, we're runner up.
That could have been a slur. We were talking about slurring words. That could have been a slur. I mean, because I don't think Jake has ever gone to bed prior to a cornhole tournament. Like he prepares all night at the tables before he gets there.
Jake goes hard in the paint. Yeah. I think Nickelback called him and said, "Hey, we forgot how to party like rock stars. Can you show us how?"
Yeah. And he does it right
help
before
us get it back
right before the tournament. So every year he's at least he's ready.
Yeah.
He's prepped.
And then I felt bad last year because we went through, and finally some people had recognized me and my brother's unique skill set at Cornhole and said, "Hey, we want to sponsor you."
Yeah, I heard
And
that.
I said, "Perfect." They brought us these sweet jerseys. They paid for our entry fees. In the first game out of the bat, we lose 21-6 to a mother-daughter. And
I kind of took that
It-
personal. That
I
it was
didn't
kind of like
because-
they chucked it.
Well, because Matt Sharping from Phenom Genetics comes over and says, "Hey, you want to buy these guys back in?" And I thought, no, they just got beat by a mom and daughter. They can't be anybody else here. You know, this is
and I
just,
kind
this
of
isn't
looked.
their
I kind
year.
of looked at you, and I kind of looked at you, and I went, "Cody, we got this. Like, just get us back in. We got this." And then we got beat 21-3 the next game. So
It wasn't their year. You just know last year was not their year.
And you
Now,
just-
Hey,
There
if
was-
it would have been
there
for
was some-
all the illegal bribing and under the table pay, they'd have probably
Yeah.
won it the year before.
Yeah, that Matt West corner.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
that. What's the couple from Arizona that comes? The husband and wife. You know.
oh yeah.
that, yeah.
What the yeah?
She uses
She's,
she uses all of her God's talents, gifts, to distract all of those guys in the
But
morning.
they got beat this year by those ringers that stepped
Yeah.
in from Vegas.
Yeah. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is they whooped on everybody a year ago. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
whole thing's
Well,
rigged. It's a Matt West deal.
It is rigged. It is rigged. And you're exactly right. She does use, and she's probably what, 6 foot tall.
At
and
least.
her
At least.
and her legs are about 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
But she uses it, and I tried to use it on her. I tried to use my charm and my good looks on her, but it just didn't have the same effect. So
Yeah.
Kind of got in the way.
Yeah.
yeah exactly.
She kind of has that Harley
Right.
Quinn mentality, though, once she's like, once
She's
she
a
hit her
killer.
the beanbags. Yeah, she
she's
kind of
pretty
gets
salty.
Yeah,
She's
gets-
pretty good.
So
Do you even know what we're talking about?
yeah, I walked by there.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever seen you there.
Yeah, I was there. I played not last year, the year before.
I played with Becky this year,
Yep, you
Your
played
wife,
with my wife
yep.
this year, but I played
Yep.
the year before.
and I was putting
Yeah,
all
you're-
my cookies over in the 100X team, and I thought, you know what, I don't need to win. It was just a donation, be the first round,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to step over and kind of watch Team 100X kind of smoke everybody's tail,
Right,
kind of like they'd done in the past, and
but no, not so much.
In all reality, it is a great deal for Matt West. If those that are listening, every year during the PBR Finals, he does and puts on with the Western Sports Foundation a cornhole tournament one morning, and it's a nice breakaway from reality, I guess. I don't know. Everybody kind of gets together, and it gets to be a pushing and shoving,
fun.
and it's a lot of fun.
well,
And
he
you
invites a
wouldn't-
special guest.
Yeah,
you know.
and there's a lot of people that
Yep.
get to come, and you get to see people that you get an opportunity to be amongst what I would call the superstars of the PBR. And Matt does a great job putting it together. So
We'll have to evaluate the talent pool. You know, I'd really
no,
like to stick with our
I think
team.
it was.
but
I don't think there was enough liquid courage on Brad's part this year to, Jake had it
Are you
going.
kidding? I had like half a bottle of Pendleton. There was too much liquid courage.
There's too much liquid courage.
At one point, I was playing a game, and I thought I was playing with Jake, and I look over, and Jake's 2 boards down. And I'm like, how did I get here?
Oh,
It is a good time though. Scott usually doesn't get to make it because he's down there working.
Doing the ABBI all
Just
by
like Ro does.
myself.
hey, did I hear a rumor that
All
you
by
used to
yourself.
ride bulls?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I rode steers. I got on. I don't even know. So the last steer I ever got on, I probably got on 7, and I never made the whistle one time. So the last one I got on, we went to a family rodeo right in Kalispell, and everybody had bucked off. I was the last steer rider to go, and I knew that somebody could win on time. It was going to be the longest time to win. And I think the winning time was like 3.3 seconds. So I held on, I gritted it out to 3.4, got the buckle, and I retired.
Quit while you're on top.
throw your hands in the air, walk out a winner.
Quit
Winner,
while you're
winner.
on top.
Give the old
Yep.
lane wave and
Yeah,
stepped out.
I got my buckle and got the hell out
Okay,
of there.
so on that point, who were the bull riders that inspired you for your career?
Well, what's
Your
that?
bull-
Say that
I said,
again.
who were the bull riders out there that inspired you during your bull riding career?
Probably Bo Hill. I looked up to Bo a lot. I think me and Bo had similar riding styles. He's long, tall, and skinny, just like I am. I'm 6'3", 180, just like Bo was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Bo said this year he wished he had you on the Global Cup team. He just,
Yeah, he missed a chance there. That's for sure.
Wow.
I'd have been the worst bull rider of all time.
Did you do any other rodeo events ever?
No, not really. I was the guy that I'll be honest with you, used to go to the rodeos, and I like to hang out in the back and BS with my buddies and drink all their beer in the cooler, and then just kind of hung out. Didn't know where I fit in rodeo. You know what I mean? Like I would go every chance I got just to go watch, just to go be a part of. Just didn't know where I fit in. Thought I wanted to be a stock contractor, but turns out you got to be kind of grumpy and know what you're doing when you're talking about stock. But I just didn't know where I fit in, and it was just kind of weird how it worked out and how I found my way in, and now I get to go every weekend. Well, used to go every weekend.
Yeah, nobody gets to go
pre-corona,
and hang out with my good buddy like Scott Grover. So it man, just found a family on the road. It was unbelievable.
Well, and you've been around with the PBR for the last, I'd say pretty solid the last 3 years. Then have had a chance to really branch out more into the world of professional rodeo. For those who might not know, Brad mixes a little rodeo in a big hay barn in Texas called the American. He just got off of 23 performances in San Antonio, Texas, doing the San Antonio Livestock Show and Rodeo, which is, a huge award-winning rodeo, big-time experience for you. Talk about that difference, though, between the PBR and, how you mix there compared to how you mix a rodeo. And I know you don't try to do too much different, but there is a little bit of difference in there.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of difference. I would say for rodeo, obviously the pace is a lot quicker as opposed to bull riding. So naturally, my song selection starting in the bareback riding is a lot faster. So as the rodeo begins, I mean, it's just they whip them out too. Them perfs are like an hour 45 there at San Antonio. So adjusting to the pace is a little different because as I do, bull riders, whether we like to admit it or not, sometimes take a little while in the box. Rodeo, I mean, they just go. So the pace is what's probably the biggest difference, Scott. And adjusting to that pace can be a little difficult. If I'm trying to read a crowd, if I'm trying to look around and see what I think might work, I might not have time to do it just because of the pace. So the biggest difference that I noticed between mixing a bull riding and doing music at a rodeo is just simply the pace. The pace is a lot quicker.
So for all of you young music directors out there watching this, Brad, how old are you, Brad? 28, 29?
29.
29 years old.
29.
Okay. This guy right here works harder at this craft than anybody I've ever met. And I know you don't do it as much as you used to, but you have a place in your house where you have a monitor, a computer, a mixer board, your whole setup so that you can pop in a DVD or get to your DVR or ride pass or whatever it is, turn the volume off and mix that event to help you with your timing and practice.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how it derived too. I started doing it probably when I was 20, maybe 21, and I'm sitting at the dinner table, and at this point in my career, I was just itching to go. Like I was itching for the phone to call, and I'm having dinner and I'm talking to my dad, and I can't remember what I said, but I said, man, I just want to go mix a rodeo, mix a bull ride, and I just want to go do music. And he said, well, why don't you just go do it? Just go practice. He said, if you're going to be a good golfer, what do? You go to the driving range and you practice. And that kind of sparked something in me. And I did exactly what he said. I sat down, I got a smart TV with YouTube on it. I put up 2 studio monitors, a mixer, and I would just YouTube a rodeo or I'd YouTube a bull riding, and I would sit down and I would mix the entire event. Now all that's really going to do is get your timing that's all that's going to do is help you with your timing. There's still other things in music directing that reading a crowd, you're not going to get that from practicing in your garage, but that's really where I got my laser timing is sitting down and mixing perfs. And I would do it 7 days a week for probably 3 years straight. Now, do I do that? No, I probably do it a couple times a week. And I probably with this downtime should get back to doing it. But that's really how I got my timing was sitting down and just putting in the work. And I would mix rodeo. So I'd work on music for 5-6 hours a day.
I was going to mention you said laser timing. I was going to mention your timing because I have not ever been to one of your performances where you were mixing and walked away without saying, "Holy crap, that was freaking awesome." He just blew.
Well, in fact, the last time he said, "Man, Mark did a really good job tonight."
Right. Not true, brother. Not true.
Just had to go there, didn't you?
Had to go down that gopher hole.
Just had to go there. But
That
I
is
mean,
not true.
those guys are a good reason why I am successful today, because I had really good people to listen to. I had Chuck Lopeman, I had Mark Stevenson, I had Richard Jones, who I think are three of the very best that there is. So, I mean, if you're going to learn from somebody, pick a style that you like, and then try and see what it is that makes those guys successful. And I did that. And luckily for me, when I would call those guys and I would say, "Hey, what do you do in this situation?" There wasn't one time that any three of them didn't answer the call and say, "Look, this is what you got to do." So to have good people to help you along is a big reason that I am where I am today, just because of those three guys.
Well, and I think if you really listen to rodeos and you're trying to break down a perf, and I mean, watching San Antonio this year, I was really listening to the music because it's been different. This was the first year you were down there, and to hear you play it, and so the pace and what people don't understand is every guy has a little bit, it may be the same song, but playing it just at a different time changes the entire song for a lot of guys. Because we do get a lot of the same music directors using the same song over and over for every calf roper, every bull rider. And so to hear it mixed different, Richard Jones, I've said it here the last, just Mark did a phenomenal job. And now when Richard and you were there, you can always tell now the pace of the PBR is a little different or the sound is different because we're hearing it's the same song. It's just at a different time. The timing was different with that particular song. And so the styles are different is what I'm getting at. And your style is truly your own. You have made it your own craft.
Right. You're absolutely right. And there's a big difference song selection wise between me and Richard. Richard does some things with songs that I would listen to on my own and go, there ain't no way that would work. And then you hear Richard Jones use it and you go, holy crap, that works so good. Yeah. He's so good at molding things and just making things fit in a perfect sense where somebody like me would not be able to do that. And that's why I think he's just unbelievable at what he does.
Yeah, I think
so
it was
no matter where.
2 years ago, Calgary. 2 years ago, Calgary. I think it was a bareback ride. I don't remember what song it was, but I heard a song during the bareback ride with Richard, and I was like, holy smokes.
It was probably when he jumped into the Cher song.
Oh,
remember that
no,
one blew
no.
one blew everybody's mind. And I don't even remember
the one that got me the most was when he used Alanis
Morissette.
Ironic.
That's it.
That's what it was.
I was like,
I did the same thing. I'm sitting there watching the bareback ride.
Who could pull that off?
Because it was a short round of Calgary, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah.
Many times I've
But
ever
it
heard that
worked.
song. Yeah, and it was brilliant.
yeah, he's phenomenal like that. He's one of the only guys where I'll listen to a mix and I admire good music directors, but there's very few of them that make me go, holy crap, that was cool. You know what I mean? And
Where you get the
Richard,
shivers.
He does it to me every time, and I'm like, man, this guy. So I'm constantly. It's like I'm trying to chase Richard all the time.
Well, it's his good looks. I mean, if you're going to chase
Big,
him.
sexy, yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you this. We had the opportunity to visit with Flint yesterday, and
Oh gosh.
he did it the day before. We talked about it yesterday, and just to pass it on, he paid you and Richard and Mark just phenomenal. He just couldn't say enough about you guys, and he, because he was saying, without those guys, I can't do my job. I am not even near what and that's what we noticed. Man, the timing that you guys build up with Flint, and not just Flint, with the other people that you work with, it's like you carry them down the road and no one really sees that. It's like the footsteps in the sand type of thing. Hate to go deep, but it's like there's times when you can carry some of the personnel.
Well, and I'll say this. I know that when you were at San Antonio this year, it was different for you at San Antonio. The scheduling, the timeline that you had to follow, you had Justin and Leon, and so it wasn't a normal rodeo, and so you had to make some adjustments, right?
Yeah, definitely. First time I'd worked with, it was second time I'd worked with Justin, and it was the first time I'd worked with Randy Corley and Wayne Brooks, so I really didn't know what I was going to be getting into. Luckily, though, and there were a few tough perfs. I'm not going to not say that, but luckily I was able to kind of figure out where those guys were going, how they were doing it, and then slide in between where I could. But Justin Rumford, I mean, that guy was phenomenal, and he is absolutely one of the greatest there is, and he helped me out a ton. He would recognize if I was trying to go to a hand clap, and he would definitely was right there every step of the way to help me out. It took probably 3 or 4 perfs to really adjust to that, but luckily San Antonio, I mean, you got 22 days to figure it out, so we got her figured out pretty quick, and it was an absolute blast.
And you parked in the wrong spot the first day and got a ticket.
Yeah, I did. Jeez, and I didn't know, like, that place is they're such a tight ship there. You have your own parking space. Well, I didn't know. I'm just an idiot from Montana. I pull in, parked, and went into the old fifth wheel to eat some dinner. Next day I come out and there's a ticket on my car, and I go over to the ticket office and I said, "What's up with this?" I said, where do they expect me to park? Like, my RV's right here. I'm not going to park all the way across. He said, "How about in your parking spot right there, right next to where you were?" Oh, yeah, that'll work, I suppose.
Okay, if I have to.
You're 1 hole off. Well, it's a good thing that you have good timing, because your sense of direction is terrible.
Why do you bring that up every time?
Hey, why do you have
Every
to go
time.
there?
What do you mean?
Saying?
What do you mean his sense of direction's bad?
What?
This guy right here has the worst sense of direction that I have ever seen in my life.
And why is that? Where are you going with that?
I'm not. I'm just saying he does. I mean, I know I've never walked out of a building before. I've never walked out of a hotel.
Brad, I'm not sure where he's going with it.
And a guy constantly go the wrong direction.
I think he's racially profiling.
He's went hunting with his father and has went the wrong way. You would think a man of his upbringing would know directions.
What does he mean by that?
God thinks it's funny because when I was 15, I was hunting with my dad and my brother, and we're up in northwest Montana. Now, my dad is very, very tactical when he hunts. I carry a pack that has strictly stuff to make a fire, stuff to survive on, and like the other big item in my pack is toilet paper. That's all I have to carry. My brother and dad carry the rest. So we get out in the woods, and we're a few miles back, and my dad says, "Hey, I'm gonna go take a little squat over there, get the toilet paper out." Okay. So he's over there doing the business, and I'm digging through my pack. I forgot the toilet paper, and I said, "Ooh." So I go tell him, I said, "Hey, I forgot the toilet paper," and he's squatting down bare-assed, and I mean starts chewing on me like you wouldn't believe. "You're an idiot. All you do is forget stuff. All you got to bring is the toilet paper. That's all you had to bring." And geez, all right, I'm done. I'm out. I put my pack on. I start walking. He says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going back to the truck." I said, "If you're going to act like that, I don't want to hunt with you. I'm going to the truck." And he said, "Well, you better just stay with us because you're walking the wrong damn way." So I'd peeled off to take off, and I was walking the wrong way. So I told that story to Scott, and he just
I'm gonna ride that
every
mule.
chance he gets, he tells me.
That's my favorite story.
Do you do a lot of hunting up there?
I wouldn't call it hunting. I do a lot of shooting. I'm not the best of shots, but humbly I'll say that not all Indians were hunters and gatherers, Cody. Some of us had to stay at camp and tend the fire and cook the meals,
take care of the women. I understand. Yeah,
dance with the hot chicks and drink the fire water. So there's some of us that just weren't cut out for it, and I'm not afraid to admit that I'm one of them.
Well, I mean,
so Brad is from the Blackfeet Nation, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not
Yes, sir.
Blackfoot, Blackfeet. You are a Blackfeet.
Black feet. Yes, sir.
But you're also Italian.
Yeah.
So
it's
you're an
weird. I'm a
Italian
weird
Indian,
mix.
which is just
Another way
weird.
to put it, Scott. Another way you could look at it is I eat my Alfredo with buffalo.
Oh, there you
If
go.
that helps
There you
you.
go. There you
If
Black
that helps you
fettuccine.
clear things up.
Blackfetuccine.
He's from the Black
feet.
fettuccine crew.
So
Yeah,
how does that work?
exactly.
So your dad is Indian and your mom is Italian?
No, so my mom's a full-blooded Indian and my dad's a half Italian. And it's funny, I'll go somewhere and people go, "You look Indian." And I'll say, "I am." "What's your last name?"
How?
"Narducci." They're expecting something cool like two eagles flying or buffalo running. Narducci. Yeah.
Yours would definitely
I'm a
not be
mess.
buffalo running.
Yeah, no, buffalo sitting, yeah. That's for sure.
So what's your favorite show? Or, and without putting you on the spot where
No,
someone's
put him
gonna-
on the spot.
people gonna be mad because you didn't pick there. What is your favorite event of the year?
Favorite event of the year? Ugh, that's tough. So I probably got two that are a tie. Obviously the PBR World Finals, the Velocity Finals for me is in high regard, and probably the American. The two most electric atmospheres that I've ever been involved. And I remember being on both announcer stand in Las Vegas and at the American, and looking down, and my hand was shaking so bad I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to click it on my mouse. Like those two for sure, just because of the electricity, the stakes, and just the high regard of the event. The American, the richest rodeo in the world, and when you make it to the Velocity Finals, even though it's not the premier tour, to me that's undoubtedly the biggest bull riding that I've ever done.
I was kind of expecting the YBR, Abilene, Kansas, Abilene,
Oh,
Texas.
You remember that?
Heck yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the first time I met Cris, I was on the mic, and that had to have been 14 or 15, wouldn't it?
It's been a day or
Probably
two.
I think it was 15. Because
He brings me a card at the announcer stand, and he says, "Hey, I'm Cris with it," and we'll say it lightly now, but
might have been
Invincible-
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Invincible helmets.
Yep.
Can you give me a shout out? And yeah, absolutely. And what was cool is when I met you, Cris, you didn't know this, but my mom's maiden name is actually Welch. So I don't know if you're my uncle somehow or something.
Well,
but
see,
But Cris
Well,
Cris
if
is
you are-
actually Cherokee, right?
Yeah, Cherokee.
Cris is Cherokee.
Oh, Cherokee and Choctaw, huh?
Well, actually, my grandfather's Choctaw, my grandmother's Cherokee, and we're on the roll for the Arkansas Cherokee.
You're just a
joke.
regular old Indian outlaw.
My mama was a
Cherokee.
Chippewa.
He's the first 30 years of Tim McGraw, before the salads and such.
How many times did you play that song for a hot song in your career?
I've never played that one, but I did go to an Indian rodeo one time, and the guy putting it on says, "Hey, you got some Indian music, right?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I got you covered." I had zero Indian music, zero. And I called my dad and I said, "Hey," "this guy wants some Indian music. What can I do on the fly?" And he says, "Well, hell, you got Hey Ho Alina." Cherokee Boogie. Hey Ho Alina is a hot song. And that guy was just looking at me, and I could tell. And yeah, that was the last time I'd been back there to play music. So, but,
That's actually really funny.
You were talking about those two events, and I can vouch for him in Vegas at the Velocity
Oh, it
Finals.
was awesome.
That of you coming up on that stage and looking around and realizing the magnitude of that event and that week, that you do get a little balled up that week.
oh,
Because you are
yeah.
you are very much a calm, cool, collected guy. It doesn't really matter the size of the building, size of the crowd. You're just kind of always cutting up, and you can tell on those, especially those two performances in Las Vegas, that it is very much it's just different, and we look down, one of my favorite things to do is to look over Luke and catch your eye and say, Come on.
Let's
Come
go.
on. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell a story here or let's go. And
Right.
but you have done such a great job of coming into that role. The first time that you worked with us guys, you didn't know what to think of us either. And, it took a little bit to get the timing. And now we're at a place where I can look at you like I do Rich and just, I can look at you and or you feel where I'm going, or you can look at the buck and shoots and understand who's up next, or study your day sheet and all those kind of little things.
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of things that people don't know about it. It's not just showing up, plugging in your laptop and playing music. It is what we call being the assist man. I'm there to assist you, Scott, when you need me. I'm there to assist Matt or whoever's the entertainer, the bull riders, the fans, whatever I can do to read a situation to assist whoever to make sure our whole team is successful is really my job. And when it comes together full fold, when we're all assisting each other and the whole team is putting in the effort, that's when you see those really, really great performances. And you're exactly right, Scott. I've worked with you enough now to where we could go anywhere and I can know exactly where you're going with something and I can go along with you. And that just comes with time. And I think that a lot of young guys, when they first start out, they don't know the difference between that. They think it's just playing music. Learning how to be an assist man and learning how to contribute to a team is the most vital thing that you can do. And that'll further your success more than anything.
Well, and that's where nonverbal communication comes in a lot too. Like, like we've never worked a rodeo together. So in the majority of my rodeos, I do horseback, or I might be in a booth with a guy that's not even close to me, and it's hard to have that nonverbal communication back and forth where, you might not have eye contact. Like Matt West and I've talked about this. Matt and I can announce in two different cities at the same time. And we just know where we're going to start and where we're going to stop. And you and I have gotten into that role a little bit. And, you're getting that way with Clint and Matt, and where you just, where they're going to go. You're reading their body language and what's coming up next. But that's something that's hard to learn.
Yeah, it's very hard to learn. And the only way you can learn it is just seat time. It's just sitting next to that person and working all them person. And, like when we first when I first started with you, they weren't smooth purse. It took me a while to figure out exactly what to do. And luckily, the thing I love about the PBR and being one big family is we all want each other to succeed. And we always say that. And Richard says this, and I believe this with all my heart, is I just want everybody up there to care as much as I do. And if that is true, if you care as much as I do, we're going to help each other. And that's where people may not know this. After our performances, we have what we call 15 minutes of honesty, where we check our egos at the door. We sit down, and I tell Scott, look, I thought you did really good here. I thought what you did here was awesome, but I really didn't like what you did here because of. Mm-hmm. And we're honest with each other. And that's the only way that you can get better, is to have somebody sit down and give you constructive criticism on what you've done, because you're not going to get better with everybody patting you on the back and saying, hey, hell of a perfect, good job, you kicked their ass. You need somebody that is going to tell you, hey, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And that's what's made me a lot better, is just having my friends that were honest with me, like Scott.
Yep, agreed.
Hey, you beat me to the punch, because I was going to mention you and Jonesy, you and Richard Jones. I come out of a coaching background, right? College football coach for 19 years. And so, the things that I gravitate or that I concentrate on may be a little different than someone who's been in rodeo their whole life, or, in operations in rodeo, or, the PBR operations. I've noticed between you and Jonesy, I think you two take more pride in being the assist man, that by propping other people up for the visual, for the audience to see a successful run, because they really don't know what it takes. But you guys clearly, and it comes out in everything you do, carry that pride, and that's, you beat me to the punch. I was going to mention that at some point and just say, hey, we're lucky to have that type of support. You're not, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's always about,
right,
leading Scott into something, leading Luke into something, leading Matt into something, where he's out there. And let's face it, everybody doesn't hit their A game every night. We know that.
Right.
We know that happens in college football, happens in any other sports or anything like that. Scott's not perfect every night. Matt's not perfect. Flint's not perfect every night. Just as Jess Lockwood's not perfect every night. We know that, right? But it's about building and continuing that show, and that's awesome to watch you guys. And there's times when music hasn't been perfect. We've got we really struggled. There was a vibe going
Guilty.
wrong.
Guilty. Yeah.
But it's not by virtue of not by that sense of wanting the attention, but it is. I don't think there's ever been a time that I've ever been around you. We've been around enough in all types of relaxed settings and joking around. There's never been a time that you haven't really exuded that pride of helping others, be successful and make the show good. And that's an awesome thing, man. I think you mentioned Mark and Richard, and I think Richard and you are the cat's meow, man, on that.
Man, I appreciate that. Thank you. That means a lot, because you guys obviously get to travel around, and you know some of the best guys in the business, and it's not all about us. It's about all them people that buy that ticket to make sure that they come and watch us, and it's our job for them to remember us, so that next time we come to town, they're going to be back.
Cody can vouch this. There's plenty of times where we've walked out and you're hearing people talk about the show or about Flint or about the music, or someone sitting there, I think where were we? Might have been Glendale. It was the same one where we ate with Chad and Stetson and
Glendale.
that artist. And it was the next day. We were walking out, and there was a lady dancing in front of us, just kind of watching. She's like, I just can't quit dancing. I just can't quit dancing, from the events. That's what carries, that's emotion. And you're like, and I thought,
absolutely.
Yeah, man. It was a good show. Good.
And I think what most people don't understand is those that really do a good job at your job as a music director have to have a sense of what's going on beyond just the crowd, because you gotta put the two together, because the wrong song at the wrong time will ruin an entire performance. Yep. It really, really will. And I've heard it happen a lot of times.
Well, Flint mentioned that whole thing of, all of a sudden they're either re-rapping or re-pulling or resetting, running the bull to the next shoot, where it creates this 2, 3, 4 minute, and having that ability to bounce back, and either one of the announcers kind of take it and, and lead into a story or some type of sell, or the entertainers take it control. And part of that is the music that grabs everybody's attention away from having to wait for that bucking bull to get moved in and get all reset. It's that whole thing of never really seeing gaps, never really feeling a gap.
Well, I'll contest to Brad, because we've stood up there, in the last few years. We stand at the Jack Daniels room during the PBR World Finals, and as Bates would lead into one of his ending sells. If you watch Brad, his body language always changes, because Brad is anticipating Brandon the entire time. I've watched him do it the last few years. I mean, because you enjoy it, I think, as much as I enjoy it, and I love it, and I know you do too. And so I always look over to Brad. I'm like, because Brandon will get on a spell, and he'll be running hard, and you look over at Brad, and Brad will just be like, he'll be pumping his head, pump it up. He's ready for it.
Yeah.
He's there. So
it's funny, because you're exactly right. Me, along with 20,000 other people inside that T-Mobile, slid up just to listen to Brandon get real on him. And this year at the American, he was there, and I thought in my mind, for sure I had played over that scenario so many times that I thought, when me and Brandon Bates get together, it's going to be unreal. And I cannot believe how much game that guy can spit, because the American is a long one.
Yep.
But for 3.5 hours, like, I was like, Brandon, I'm running out of these dramatic songs here for you. But he was.
I'm trying to catch
every
up.
single one. Yeah. And
can you do something to Cheeseburger in Paradise right now? Because that's all I got left.
I got Hey Ho Alina, and I got Cheeseburger in Paradise. You pick, buddy.
Well, you look over at Brad upstairs and be like, he'd look over and say, "That was rank. That was rank."
Oh, yeah. He gets me, man. It's like listening to you guys listen to NF at all? The Christian rapper. It's like listening to NF when Brandon gets going. You're like, man, holy crap!
Yeah.
How does he think of that? Like, he's unbelievable.
He's changed the game for what we do. I mean, I really think so. I think he'll go down as my opinion, the best bull riding announcer of all time. And he changed the game for what we do. And but I think you are one of the guys that are doing that for the music business. So
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yep.
no, I do. I really think so.
The Burley mixer.
It's
Yeah.
cool to see that you've got the career that's among you, the career that you're in right now, the opportunity to see how big it's going to get, because music has changed so much over the last, I'll say, 25 years. And now we're at a point where guys like yourself are able to take it to the next level.
Brad, I know you got
it's
a busy
funny.
day. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's funny that you say that, Cody, because for years I'd always told my wife, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna get a big rodeo. Hey, I'm gonna get a big rodeo," and I believed it in my heart that I was gonna get a big rodeo, and then I got the American, and I thought that's a huge rodeo, but I feel like I'm gonna get another big rodeo, and I just kept telling her that, and then I got San Antonio, and it's funny how things work out. Like you see all your hard work come to fruition, and it's so worth it. So I appreciate you saying that, buddy.
Well, you've done a great job, and you've worked your butt off for it, and good people get good things. And
Well, good thing he's got a lot
You're
of
good
butt left to
people.
work off, though.
and he's
That's right.
got some work out.
Always going.
There he goes.
Yeah. Hey, you can tell he's been hanging around the mat. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, he flexes every
doing the
time you turn
flex,
around.
doing the flex. What's up with that?
So
Oh, man.
I'm glad that you were able to sketch out a little bit of your busy schedule for us, because the first day you had a conflict. The second day you were playing golf. I know yesterday was a
Yep,
tough golf
yep.
day for you. Not
It-
quite up to
it-
par for what you usually do.
It really was. I got beat by a good friend of mine who I don't think he's ever beat me in the entirety of us playing golf together. I actually hit 2 houses yesterday. So to say yesterday was a bad day is a bit of an understatement.
So
But yeah,
what-
luckily I was able to carve out between nap time and between lunchtime for you guys today. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I could.
Yeah, what is your
Yeah.
day? What does the rest of your day entail here?
I'm going to make some lunch as soon as we get off here. I'm going to work on some music. I'm going to hang out with the kids, and I'm going to enjoy a little self-quarantine here. So
Amen.
there you go. There you go. Well,
Montana
About it.
style.
hopefully
Montana
soon.
style.
Hopefully soon we will see you somewhere, and we will get to go back to what we love to do.
I never thought I'd see this, Scott, but I can't wait to see you
I know.
at a bull run.
I know. I know. If we don't see each other, there's always Deadwood. Hopefully.
There's always Deadwood, but
Hey, you know what I was thinking about this, and I actually thought about you. You know, with all this virtual stuff, how about this? How about we start a virtual cornhole league? Right? You'll have the cornhole there. We'll have our cornhole
I think it-
here. Right? We could
Yes.
do a virtual
I was thinking-
competition.
I was thinking more like virtual ice fishing, and I'll just stay back here and do the beer drinking. You do the ice fishing.
dude, I don't know if I go out there right now. It's kind of thin, and
Is it thinning?
slim as I look, I'm still heavy, so I would probably go through. Yeah.
Just keep a wide
Yeah.
base.
Hey, just remember salad for lunch then.
Keep a wide base.
The ice scares the hell out of me. I
too.
rarely go in the peak of ice season. And there's people driving their cars out there and stuff. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you guys?
Hey, it's just as
I'm-
easy to go to the grocery store and buy some fish, man, dude. It's a lot safer. You get
yeah.
home. It's a lot warmer in the house.
McDonald's serves a fish fillet. You can just drive through if you need a fish
Get the
sandwich.
fish fillet. That's right. That's
I think
right.
it's only $1 too, right?
It's only $1. Only $1.
I think it's fish.
All right.
All right, Boston Brad. Thanks for joining us today here on the Two Big Guys and Grover podcast. Good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you guys.
Thank y'all for watching. Stay tuned. There's a lot more conversations coming up on the Two Big Guys and Grover podcast.